All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Great to have you guys all here. Hi. Happy Wisdom Soup. Oh, gosh. I see people from all over. It's so good to see you guys. Hey, no. Great to see you, Amina. It's so good to see everybody. Hello. Hello. I'm so glad you guys could make time today. Let's just make sure everybody gets in. All right. And I see our speaker is here. That's always a good thing. It's hard to have a party without the host. So welcome you guys. Welcome to Wisdom Soup. So some of you may be here for the first time. Wisdom Soup has been a very fun part of my life for the last long time. Like what? It's been like 6, 7 years, maybe more. I'm not sure. Anyways, I started Wisdom Soup because I was on my journey and I needed to find my peeps. And I know there's lots of you who can totally relate to that. That I had gotten to a space where I didn't know anybody else that was around me who was interested in the kind of things I wanted to talk about. So I put my flag in the ground. I rented a theater in downtown Bellevue. I put a thing on Meetup, and like 25 people showed up, and it was amazing. And ever since then, every month we've been doing Wisdom Soup. And the community changed because of COVID, right? We had to go online. We've been going online a bit before that, where we kind of do a hybrid. But it's been awesome because now we have people joining in, like Amina's here, joining in from Luxembourg. We get like people from all over the place and get to join in, which is really, really cool. And we've been able to broaden our reach too and find speakers from further away. Like today's speaker is actually from kind of a neighbor, but she's up in Canada, but still on the same coast as me. So I consider that a neighbor. But yeah, so anyways, so it's been a big part of my life. And I think that the philosophy, the reason I called it Wisdom Soup is because that idea is that as you are exploring your own connection and your own path to spirit, that we all go through really, really different, we find different teachers, we find different books that resonate for us. And so it's kind of like you have to expose yourself to a lot of different things to figure out what works for you. So I think of it as like you get to make your soup out of whichever ingredients you want to keep, and the rest you just set aside. So we show up every month, we learn something new, and some of it you're going to really click with and some not. And that's kind of the point. It is come, be exposed, be open, right? Be open and see what you like. And we've been really fortunate to have always found amazing people to come and share their experience and their wisdom with us. So just to note, you guys know that we are in heavy eclipse season. So those of you who follow astrology, you may want to check it out specifically for your rising sign. I'm not an astrologer, but I love astrology. I think it's incredibly helpful as a tool, sometimes in retrospect, but still that counts. But this is a very, very busy week. So if you haven't checked out for your rising sign, what it says for you in this eclipse season, because it's going to be a period of a lot of change and transformation for a lot of people. So yeah, so check it out. All right, and we got some people commenting in the chat. Let me open up the chat so I can see too what you guys are saying. So you're saying, hi, everybody, peace and love. All right, born and raised in New York City. I was just there. I currently live in Manhattan. I've been full-time independent political journalist. Oh, very cool. Welcome. I'm glad you could join. Yeah, I loved my trip to New York. I was just there for a one-day event and had a great group of people. So all right. So I would love to introduce you guys to Leah Brathwaite. I found her. She, like I said, she is a neighbor living up in BC, and she's going to be guiding us through a 60-minute Kundalini activation, which is something we have never done here at Wisdom Soup. Hard to believe because we have talked about so many things, but this is one we have never covered. And Leah is, she describes herself as having been through, like many of us, a pretty difficult upbringing, right? Through as you were saying, Leah, repressive religious indoctrination, as well as disability, depression, divorce, all those things that help us, right? Those obstacles that are the way that help and guide us to our spiritual path. So that from that, she has now cultivated these practices that she's going to share with us. I would love to introduce you to Leah, and let me go ahead and get you spotlighted, and hold on just a bit. There you go. All right. So welcome, Leah. Great to have you here.
Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness, it is so nice to see so many beautiful faces from all over the place. So, as Anne mentioned, my name is Leah. I'm just taking a moment to soak in everybody's name or screen and just be in all of your energy. Hi, 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 hi. I can't see all of you on the same screen, so I have to kind of toggle back and forth. Hello, hello, hello. It is so beautiful to be in this space and in this community. And I want to say thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing for creating this community, but also for all of the wisdom that you are sharing on YouTube. I found you through YouTube. I found you serendipitously through a podcast and then on YouTube, and then we connected and I was like, well, isn't this just freaking perfect? Yes, absolutely. I would love to come and share inside of Wisdom Soup, because we need as many practices and anchors as we can get in this wild and crazy time. So I would love to invite you all to make this sort of an interactive experience. Do not be shy. You can use the chat. You can ask questions. I would love to hear if things are resonating or if you have any questions about anything that I'm saying. And really just, as Anne had mentioned, to just allow yourself to be open to a different perspective. I'm curious to know how many, and you can do this either by raising your hand if your screen is on or just putting a yes in the chat. How many of you have tried or practiced or heard about Kundalini yoga, Kundalini meditation, Kundalini? We've got some thumbs up, we've got some hands up. Okay, cool. Oh, I see some movement. Okay, amazing. It's so hard to keep track of all of the lovely humans here. I see some thumbs up on the second page. Okay, amazing. Heard about it, never tried it. Yep. Amazing. I love when there's like a mix of newbies and people who are like, yes, I practice it. I do it every single day. Because it creates just a really nice, beautiful energy. So before we dive into what it is and what we're going to be doing, thank you. You know what? I love the chat. Let's just do the chat thing. You and I can have a little conversation here. So feel free to put stuff in the chat. But I wanted to give you a little bit of my background, how I came to Kundalini, or how Kundalini found me, because I think sharing our stories gives us the opportunity to find connecting points, because it's so easy to be like, oh, well, this person has this kind of life because they had this kind of upbringing, or whatever it is, the stories that we make up for ourselves. But I grew up in a very interesting household. There was a lot of religious indoctrination. Some people will call it a cult. I consider it in that vein. Other people will call it like a life-changing religion. To each their own. But the essence of it was a really repressive environment that didn't allow me to experience who I truly was. There was a lot of conditions about this is what it means to be this kind of person. This is what you do if you do this. A lot of rules, and essentially a lot of squeezing out of the individuality and the truth that I felt in my sensitive little soul as a young kid. I think anybody that's sort of drawn to a spiritual nature at some point in their childhood had an openness or a sensitivity and knew that there were things going on in the world, but they couldn't really put words to it and nobody else was talking about it. And so we just kind of repressed those parts. Whether it's something that you could see, something that you could sense, something that you could feel, if it wasn't reflected back to you in a positive way, that was one of the pieces of self that we kind of like just, oh, let's just shove that down. And so we lose these parts. We don't really lose them, but we hide these parts of ourselves and end up walking through the world in a way that feels inauthentic. And then we have all of these conflicts that appear in our lives and we're confused as to why things aren't working out the way we want them to. And then it's one of those cataclysmic moments of whether it's a disability or a divorce or a loss of job or whatever it is that wakes us up and brings us to our knees and asks us the question of like, there's got to be more to this. So I had one of those. Come to Jesus is kind of a funny way to refer to it, seeing as it was coming out of a religious background. But I had one of those moments when everything in my life sort of fell apart. I developed a neurological condition that ended my career as a dental hygienist. And even though on some level I knew I wasn't my job, I still had no idea who I was without my job. I didn't have the registered dental hygienist that I could just hand out when people say, what do you do? Or who are you? It seemed to be a little tag that I could post and people would kind of have an idea of who I was. And without that, I had no idea who I was. And that was the beginning of this questioning period. And when I started to question, everything started to unravel. And it wasn't all at once, but it started slowly. And I knew on some sense that, is a Kundalini the same as when someone says they are awakened? It's a little bit different, but I'm going to go into that. So the awakening process is more of like your consciousness realizes, or you realize that there are sort of two aspects of self. The awakening process is realizing like, maybe I'm more than my job, or maybe I'm more than my relationship that's imploded, or maybe I'm more than who I think I'm supposed to be. And that awakening is the recognition of a self or a soul that is beyond the thoughts and the feelings and the experiences of our life. So when you are awakening, you're starting to become aware of the fact that there is more going on than just waking up, going to work, coming home, and the same routine. You start to awaken to the fact that there is an entire whole other universe that is starting to become available to you to tap into. Kundalini, on the other hand, is the pure potential creative power that we all possess. So Kundalini essentially means potential energy. Kundalini refers to a serpent or a coiled snake. That's essentially what it means in Sanskrit. And it's this idea of this pure potential energy that is coiled at the base of our spine, and it is available to each and every one of us. And as we awaken, as we activate it, it begins to be the operative force in our lives, and it allows us to access our limitless potential. It allows us to create beyond just the limitation of the mind. It allows us to use all aspects of ourself. So in the Kundalini tradition, we're not just a body, we're not just a mind, and we're also not just a soul. So if you're into yoga or any of those sort of practices, you'll realize, yeah, okay, I know I'm not just a mind, I'm not just a body, I'm a mind, body, soul, all kind of in one. In Kundalini, it expands on that even more, and it operates with a 10-body system. So it's the entirety of your multi-dimensional self that is available to you to use in every moment. And once you awaken or become conscious to that, and you learn how to activate this energy within you, that's when so many things start to shift. And that was the experience that I had as well. And now I have to tell you, I wasn't immediately excited about Kundalini yoga. I started part of my awakening journey and leaving the church and going through divorce, and all of that was initiated by yoga, but it was regular hatha yoga. It was like the normal yoga. And I did multiple teacher trainings in hatha and ashtanga and yin. And I was always resistant to Kundalini yoga because honestly, it was like the weird yoga to me. They would wear a lot of white. There was a lot of turbans going on. There was chanting and weird words, and I had no idea what they were saying. And after leaving something that felt like a cult, seeing that type of community, very tight knit and like all uniform, I was like, immediately, no, that is another cult. I'm not getting myself involved in it. And I was resistant to it until one day, serendipitously, there was a yoga festival in Ottawa where I was living, and there was an advertisement for a Kundalini class with gongs. And I was like, what are the gongs going to do in this whole thing? Like, I was just so mesmerized by the idea of gongs that curiosity pushed me to go and give it a try. And it was a very simple set of exercises that we were doing. It was nothing crazy. It actually didn't feel that culty. It was really normal. But I had an experience that I had never had before in my life. And it was something simple. We were holding our arms out like this. We had our eyes closed. We were doing some kind of breath. And all of a sudden, this rage erupted from within me. And yoga, you think you go and you have like a blissful experience. It's all peace and kumbaya and namaste. And this was rage that I had never experienced before in my life. And it was projected out at the beautiful teacher who was teaching us. It was projected towards me. It was projected to all the people around me. I'm like, who are these idiots just sitting here with our, like, this isn't yoga, blah, 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 blah. All of these stories started circulating in my mind, and all of these feelings started erupting in my body. And through the progression of the practice, it all kind of dissipated. And at the end, there was this awareness of that experience that I had, all of those stories that I created were happening, and I was observing them. So there was like a separation, and I realized, okay, there was two things happening at the same time there. There was like this whole fiery, chaotic experience in my mind, but then there was also this part of me that was watching it and that was observing it. And that was something that I had never experienced before in that way, that I could activate a part of myself, two parts of myself at the same time, and both witness and experience at the same time. And then I was hooked, and I was like, I need to know more about this. I signed up for my teacher training immediately, and it actually transformed my life. So the practice of Kundalini yoga is actually called the yoga of awareness. And it's called the yoga of awareness because the point of it isn't to be like bendy flexy and touch your toes. It's not to even really attain enlightenment. It's to hone your awareness. It's to hone your sensitivity. It's to hone the part of you that is the grand observer, the limitless beingness of yourself, so that you can experience that and recognize that your mind is given as a tool to help you navigate, but it's not given to you to be the one that calls all the shots. It's sort of the supporting character. And you, your soul, your limitless being, the consciousness that you are, that is the consciousness that everything is actually holding the space for your life to unfold. And so as you continue with these practices, or the practice of Kundalini yoga, and you sensitize your awareness, the subtlety of your awareness, you have so much more capacity and so much more power and so much more ability to actually interact with reality instead of interacting through your mind, through the stories, through the programming, through the projections of the mind. Jesus died and forgave our sins, so why do we still have great pain in our bodies? And it doesn't heal even though you go to the core. So I'm a little confused as to these two parts. Jesus died and forgave our sins, so why do we still have pain in our bodies? It depends on the beliefs that you have around Jesus and what he died for and what our sins actually mean. Because to sin in biblical terms is not going against God necessarily. To sin in the translation of it is to miss the mark. And we miss the mark by not acknowledging that we are limitless, that we are made in God's image, that we are made as grand creators of our own experience. So when we miss that mark, that's what we call a sin. When we don't acknowledge the fact that we are limitless, when we don't acknowledge the fact that we have so much more power than we give ourselves credit for. So when we get stuck in the mind and we get stuck in that identity of limitation, that's sort of the sin that creates all the conflict in our bodies. It's us trapping energy, not allowing that Kundalini or that potential of us that God gave us, God meaning the generating, the organizing, and the delivering or the destroying energy of the entire universe. When we're going against that and we're missing the mark of that recognition, that's when we have trapped energy in our body. That's what creates our pain, and that's what creates our suffering. I hope that explains that a little bit. Pain is part of our learning on earth. Pain is like the physical experience of our bodies, but it's not actually who we are. So when we get into the experience of our limitless self, when we allow ourselves to have an activation of this energy, and when we sense the separation between the thoughts of the mind and the ego and our higher self or our soul, then we get to see that we are actually so much more powerful. And this is the point. When we recognize our own power, we don't have to take it from others. We don't have to project it onto others. We don't have to become victims of our lives. We get to be the ones in charge of living in our highest frequency. What do the angels say? I'm curious. I don't know, Anne, if you wanted to jump in and say anything about that.
Oh, it's okay. Let's focus on you because I really want to make sure you have time to lead us through your
Yeah,
exercise. So
absolutely.
I'm sure we have some channeled messages on that on the playlist. But let's focus on you for now.
Okay, beautiful. Perfect. So the activation that I chose for us to do today is one that I actually just taught a few days ago, and it had a really beautiful response because, especially as you mentioned, we are in eclipse season. So on the 14th, we have an eclipse in the new moon. So that's in Libra. And that has a lot to do with relational dynamics and balance and all of that stuff. But we also have the closing eclipse still in the same month on the full moon that is going to be happening. So October is a month of, when I felt into it, it was the word that kept coming through was cataclysmic, in the sense of like massive shifting, massive changing available. And we can see that there is a lot of chaos going on in the world, like in the world at large, but also in our personal lives, because this energy affects all of us. It's not something that we can just bypass or pretend doesn't exist. We're all on the field playing in this energy that is really chaotic. And so the activation that I chose for us to do today is one that allows us to anchor into our hearts and activate and really land our power in our hearts. Because the truth of the matter is, the more that we can stand in our own solid integrity, the more that we can recognize that even though there's a lot going on in the world, even though we might have a lot of fearful thoughts, even though we might have a lot of big emotions that are moving through us, they are moving through us. They are energy that is moving through us. And we are, in fact, sort of the house for all of that energy to move through. So the more that we can use practices that allow us to strengthen our capacity to hold that big energy, the more that we're able to move through in a state of calm, in a state of peace, in a state of love, and not get distracted by all of the noise and all of the chaos that is around us. And what it feels like right now, and it's not to be irreverent to any of the suffering that is going on in the world, but what it feels like right now is that there is so much noise. We're inundated with so much information that it's often really hard for us to hear our own truth. It's really hard for us to get to that still calm point within us. We're easily distracted by like, oh, but what about this? Or what if this happens? Or da 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 da. We're never actually in the moment. We're either reminiscing the past or we're trying to project into the future. And we're missing the opportunity that we have right now to create this new world, to create our heaven on earth, because it's happening in this now moment. So unless you're able to stay in this moment, stable, aligned, clear in your power, you're going to get thrown around and it's going to be just like a hot mess express, and you're going to be contributing to the chaos that's going on in the world. So the more that you can take responsibility for your own self, the more that you can land in a place of acknowledgement, and the more you can develop that awareness or that subtlety, the more powerful you are in creating the reality that you want to see. And that's what Kundalini energy is for. It's the pure potential creative power that is within us, but it's also the exact same pure potential creative power that is in all of the universe. That saying, if God is not in everything, then it is nothing. It means it's in us too. And I referred to God growing up from a really religious background. I had a reckoning with the word God. There was a moment where in my life where it was something that didn't come out of my mouth very easily after I left the church. But what I've learned through many traditions is that God is everything. And I love the yogic tradition definition of it, that it is that generating, organizing, and delivering and destroying force of the entirety of the universe that is within us. And so when we harness that, when we can land in our bodies, hold the big energy that is moving around us, and channel it through our hearts, not only do we create more peace for ourselves, we create more purpose for ourselves, we create more prosperity, and we create more pleasure at the same time. And that is what the physical incarnation of our beings is for. It's not for the pain and the suffering that we experience, even though we do, because we live in like a field of polarity here, like very dense. There's there's layers to the whole thing. And as high as we can go is also as low as we can go. The more that we are clear in letting that energy move through us without stopping it, without resisting it, without holding on to it, the more it moves through us, the less suffering we experience, and the more joy, the more happiness, the more bliss, and the more of our totality that we get to experience. So this meditation is called Meditation for a Calm Heart, and it's quite simple, but you might notice that it stirs things up for you, and that is the whole point. Remember, I said the yoga of awareness? It brings you into awareness as to what is going on inside of you. So the stories that you have, the rage that you might experience, all of the feelings that you have, those are being generated from within you. And it's like that analogy of like when you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Or when you squeeze a pear, what comes out? Pear juice. When you get squeezed, what comes out? And that's the awareness. That is what allows us to experience like, oh, you know what? I might have some things I need to clean up. Oh, you know what? That 30 years of religious indoctrination and repression, it's kind of coming out as like sideways as rage from all of the times I had to stuff it down. It's coming out in a strange way. And now that I'm aware of it, I can release it. So the more that we become aware of what's going on within our systems, the more we're able to clear it, the more we're able to come back to our true authentic nature, which is one of love and bliss and beauty and peace. And then the more we get to spread that into the world. So the sensitivity that develops with this awareness is what allows you to experience more of your spiritual gifts, more of your spiritual nature. And in a time right now where sensitivity is being heightened in all regards, like everybody is more sensitive right now. And those who don't have the tools to handle it are sensitive and lashing out. So can you be sensitive in the sense of having compassion? Can you be sensitive in the sense of being able to hold and regulate your own nervous system so you're not adding to that projection of chaos and pain in the world? So before we dive into the actual practice, are there any questions about anything that I've shared?
Go ahead and put them in the chat if there's anything you wanted
Yeah,
to.
I'd love to hear. Oh, hi, there's way more people than there were at the beginning. Hello, lovely people.
Everyone's saying, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Am I totally free? Oh my gosh, I was totally free. I don't know that I'd still be here. No, not really, but I do have some really great tools to help me get free when I find myself in a bind. What does a Kundalini experience feel like? It feels different for many people. And there's ways of awakening Kundalini energy that can happen spontaneously, or there's ways of more of a gentle integration. The practice that we're going to do today isn't one that's going to blast your socks off. I have other activations for that. This is one to kind of settle ourselves down, to allow us to like anchor into a state of peace. But it can feel like many different things. It can feel like tingling. It can feel like surges of energy. It can feel like heat. It can feel like cold. It can feel like popping or crackling or snapping. Or it can literally just feel like a separation of self. It can feel like there's two parts. There's like, oh, I'm watching something weird happening. Something's happening and I can't even put my finger on it. It can be as subtle as that. So I wouldn't say to look for a specific experience, really just to look for the experience. And whatever is coming through is fine. There's no wrong way to do this. And most people are like, I don't know, I didn't get it. This didn't happen to me. And she said this happened to her. And it did. Like, there's no comparison. We are each an individual and unique channel of frequency and energy with a completely different background, completely different composition that is going to experience it in a different way. So the thing that I would say is to allow everything to be part of the experience, even allowing like, I don't like what she's saying, or that doesn't really feel true to me, or allowing like, oh my God, I love that. Allowing all of it to be part of the experience and learning to hold without needing to judge anything as like right or wrong or good or bad or yes or no or blah. We're so caught in duality sometimes that we're like, if it's not this, then it's got to be this. And really, it's all of it, if that makes sense. We're not looking for one side of a coin or another. We're just looking for the fact that it's a coin. We're the coin, the experience of it. Total insights on my brain, body, totally free. Amazing. Sounds like you have no ego. It wasn't just temporary. It wasn't just for an hour a day. It's happening in each and every moment of daily life. That's so beautiful. Jacob, we need this. We need more of this in the world where we can land in that place of full awakening. And it's a practice. For some of us, it happens instantaneously, and forevermore you will be free. And that's amazing. And none of this bothers you. And it's all great. For others, we're like, okay, this roller coaster is a little wild. Let me just ground. So these practices are helpful for us humaning our way through it, because it allows us to reminds us that we're more than just the human aspect, that we are really these spiritual, limitless beings. And getting a little taste of that every once in a while allows us to bring more of that spirituality, more of that light down into the field and hold it. You know, not just no ego, but the entire identity structure. It's pretty powerful. So I'll explain a little bit about what we're going to do, and then I'll tell you a little of the steps that we're going to do, and we will practice our meditation together. I'm curious if it's possible for me to share music through here. I think no, I can't. Okay. I don't know if there's a way for me to do that. It's nice to have just a little bit of background. I don't know if that can happen, or I might be able to just figure out a way to do it here, but
I think
if not,
if you play it in your background, it may or may not show up on Zoom. It depends, but you can give it a try.
Okay, we'll see. We'll play around and see how it goes. Okay, so first I'll give you a little bit more details about the meditation that we're going to do so that you know what to expect. And then I'll share a little bit of more of the tradition of how the practice is sort of laid out. So the meditation that we're doing, as I mentioned, is called Meditation for a Calm Heart. And it's actually a breath meditation. Now, the thing with Kundalini Yoga is that there are hundreds of meditations for hundreds of different things. There's some for digestion. There's some for better sex. There's some for clearing your mind. There's some for fighting with there's a meditation and there's a kriya for absolutely everything. This one we're doing is for a calm heart in times of chaos. And it's really beautiful. I'm going to say it's beautiful because once you get it, it's beautiful. But if you're like me and you're experiencing it for the first time, this is one of those meditations that triggered anger in me. And it just made me aware of where my heart was not calm and how I responded to things when I felt uncomfortable. So that's part of the awareness piece. Like, how do you habitually respond when things feel uncomfortable? So this is a breath practice or a pranayama, and it helps to relieve anxiety and promotes mental calmness and clarity. So on the emotional side of things, this is really great, especially for relationships. And it's lovely that we have this new moon in Libra, which is about relating. It adds clear perception to your relationships with yourself and with others. So this is a great meditation to do if you're upset at work or in a personal relationship. If you just sit in this meditation for like 3 minutes, even up to 15 minutes before deciding how to act, then you'll be able to act with your full heart. So you're not reacting out of a response or a reaction or a trigger. It brings you into a peaceful place so that you can respond in your power. And then physically, this is a great meditation for strengthening the lungs and the heart. And a few of the sort of side notes of this is that it really helps us to channel our pranic energy. So for those who know what prana is, it's the life force energy that we inhale and exhale. I mean, it's more than just our breath, but it's something that helps to regulate our prana, which is that life force that moves through us and that allows us to feel vital. So in Kundalini yoga, there's usually like 12 things all happening at the same time because it's actually a science. It works on your nervous system. It works on your emotions. It works on your mental aspect. As I mentioned before, it operates on the 10 bodies system. So there's these 10 aspects of your multidimensional self that Kundalini yoga works on. And so there's often a lot of things happening at the same time. So we use a lot of mantra. There's no mantra in this one, but we also use mudra, which is hand postures or gestures that work as energetic seals. So the way that you hold your hands allows energy to create, allows it to move in a certain sequence that transfers back into the brain and creates a cycle or a way for that energy to move in a really direct path or a really predictable way. And we also use breath patterns. So this one, as I mentioned, is a breath meditation. So I'll describe a little bit of what we're going to do for this one. I'm just going to move my computer back so you can see me maybe a little bit better, because the mudra that we're going to use is two different mudras. So one is going to be your left hand is going to be placed on your heart. So just your left hand on your heart. Your fingers are going to be together. Your thumb can be either up or down. It's going to be placed on your heart, and you kind of want to have this arm active. So it's not like flopping down. It's like you're making a concerted effort to connect to your heart. And then your right hand is going to go into Gyan Mudra. And this is known as the seal of wisdom or enlightenment, the seal of knowledge. Taking your Jupiter finger, which deals with expansion and wisdom and even luck and prosperity, and combining it with your thumb. So pinching it together like an OK sign. Your three other fingers are going to be pointing straight up. And this one is going to be at your side. So it's almost like you're taking a pledge, you know, when you're like, I pledge allegiance to the whatever. It's like that, but with wisdom. So you're bringing that into a space of active tenure. So holding it like that. Okay, perfect. Y'all look great. Those who I can see, you're doing it perfectly. You can put your hands down. We're going to talk about the breath pattern now, and then we're going to put it all together and do this meditation. And so the breath pattern that we're going to be doing is simple, but it can feel challenging. And this is the whole point. Remember, awareness, no good or bad, just becoming aware, noticing if it's easier to breathe in, if it's easier to breathe out. You're not going to do it wrong. You can't mess it up. Just becoming aware of the feelings and the thoughts that come along with all of the activity going on. So the inhale, you're going to inhale through your nose as deeply as you can, breathing all the way in. Once you're full, you're going to hold the breath in. And this isn't like gasping or straining. You're just going to fill yourself all the way up with breath, hold the breath in. And as you fill your breath up, you're going to lift your heart. So remember, your hand's going to be on your heart. You're going to feel your heart raise. And then you're going to hold the breath in for as long as you can. And then you're going to smoothly, calmly exhale all the breath out through your nose again, pushing all the breath out. And then when all the breath is out, you're going to lock the breath out. You're going to hold it out for as long as you can. And this is the part where your brain's going to be like, oh my God, I'm dying. Blah. Like you're going to start having like a bit of a freak out, and it might feel really uncomfortable, but see if you can hold it out as long as you can. And then you're going to breathe in again. Fill all the way up, hold. Breathe out, all the way out, hold. That's the breath pattern. So we're going to be doing that cycle. It's almost like box breathing. So inhale, hold as long as you can. Exhale, hold as long as you can. Inhale, hold as long as you can. Exhale, hold as long as you can. That's the cycle that you'll be going through at your own pace. You might notice that there's a discrepancy between how long you can hold the breath in and how long you can hold the breath out. Just allowing yourself to go through the experience. And something that one of my teachers told me about this after the fact, that I was like, I wish I would have known this before, and it would have maybe like helped me a little bit, was that the practice of Kundalini yoga really helps to strengthen our nervous system by challenging it. And when it comes to holding the breath out, it triggers in our mind the fear of death. Because it's like, is there going to be another breath? Like, what do you mean I'm going to hold it? Blah, blah, blah. Like we start having all of these panicked thoughts. And the panic thoughts that we have and the stories that we create allow us to become aware and allow us to experience and grow our capacity without being in a dangerous situation. We're doing it in a safe place. You're sitting in your living room, you're sitting at home, you're just breathing. But it's training your mind, it's training your body, it's training your nervous system to expand its capacity to be uncomfortable. So let yourself be uncomfortable and see where those edges are, and allow yourself to just like push against them just a little bit.
Lisa's asking if does it matter if we lay down or sit up?
Sitting up. So for this one, we're going to be sitting up. Thank you for bringing my attention to that question. I just moved my screen a little bit. You're going to be sitting up, and preferably if you can sit cross-legged. It's okay if you're in a couch or a chair, you have something against your back, but especially for this meditation, we want to have a straight spine because we create a channel that allows us to anchor in the earth and the sky. And our energy runs along the channel of our spine. And when it's straight and erect, it allows it to go straight from the earth to the heavens and move through all of our energy centers in a really powerful way. So I'm going to invite you to get comfortable. But before we do this, there's two things for the tradition of this practice. We tune in using a mantra. And this mantra helps us to sort of set a space or set the frequency to be holding us in our meditation. So we're all coming from different places, we're all in different states. And when we use a mantra, which really just means a mind vehicle, it's a way that we can like put our minds into this little vehicle that drives us to a specific destination, which is the frequency of the mantra. It's coded words that hold a specific energy. When we tune into the mantra, it allows us to be held in that frequency. So the mantra that we use for every opening Kundalini practice is Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. I'll type it in the chat. And it means I bow to the infinite wisdom within me, and I bow to the infinite wisdom that surrounds me. So it's an acknowledgement of that divinity that is both within us and all around us. If God's not in one thing, it's not in anything. We're acknowledging that we're being held in that frequency of alignment with all of the teachers that came before us and that wisdom that is within us, and allows us to be held in that space. So we chant it in a really embodied way. It might sound weird. You might be like, oh God, what am I doing here? I'm going to chant it out loud. You can either chant it along with me, or you can listen to the vibration and let it linger. It doesn't matter if you say the words wrong or if you just hum along with it. You're going to be held in that frequency. But if you would like to chant along with me, you are more than welcome to. It's kind of long and drawn out. So maybe listening to the first round and then joining in on the second or third. But we chant it 3 times to sort of set the frequency. And then we'll get into the meditation. We'll come into that mudra of the hand on the heart, the left hand on the heart, right hand in Gyan mudra in that pledge. And we'll do that. But first we'll tune in. So I'll get you to just find yourself in a comfortable seat and bring your hands to your heart center, rubbing your palms together. You can close down your eyes. And then pressing your palms together evenly, bringing the knuckles of your thumb into your sternum. Nice straight spine, tucking your chin just slightly. And noticing just any subtle shifts in the way you sit in this posture. Sitting exalted, elevated, present, awake, alert, aware. Take a deep breath in through your nose and release it. Do that again. Deep breath in through your nose. And clear it. Let it go. And this breath in will prepare us to tune in with the Adi mantra, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo.
Also, you may want to reset your audio settings to allow for music. So there's a way to do it under your audio settings, because your words, when you're singing, the sound drops out. So if you go under audio setting, if you click on the microphone and there's a little arrow to the right of it, and then you click on audio settings. So, and click on audio settings, and then you want to go to, I think you could try original sound for musicians. I think that, or live performance audio. That's a new one. That might be perfect. Let's try that.
Pardon me. It's a long tune in. I'm just recovering from a little bout with the COVID. So, okay, last one. Here we go. Okay. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale deeply. Hold your breath in. Straighten through your spine. Exhale. They told you don't have to do it perfectly. It still works. Okay. So now we'll come into our posture. So left hand on the heart, right hand in this mudra. And then the breath pattern is inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and continuing that way. So beginning your practice, beginning your breath, we'll see if this music will work along with it. Now, wherever you are in your breath pattern, eyes stay closed, staying in the same mudra, breathing out all of the air. And then inhaling deeply, powerfully through your nose, and then blowing out your mouth. Do that again 2 more times. Deep, deep breath in through your nose, blowing out your mouth. One more time, just like that. Deep, deep breath in. Hold it in at the top for just a moment. Taking another sip of air. One more sip of air. Blow it out your mouth. Stay inside, eyes stay closed, hands come down to rest on your knees, allowing yourself to just stay still for a few moments, integrating the experience, noticing what you notice. Observing your mind, observing your body, observing your emotions. And in that observation, recognizing that you are more than your mind, your body, and your feelings. You are the presence, the consciousness that is witnessing the unfolding of your being. Take a deep breath in through your nose and release. You can keep your eyes closed. We're going to tune out with one long chant of Satnam, meaning truth is my identity. Acknowledging, affirming the fact that you are more than who you think you are. So rub your palms together again at your heart center. Landing them at your heart in a prayer pose. So pressing the palms of your hands together in a symbol, in an honoring of the duality of your being, human and divine, masculine and feminine, light and dark, sun and moon, yin and yang. All parts of you welcome. All parts of you allowing yourself to experience the truth of who you are. So taking a deep breath in through your nose and releasing it. Deep breath in again to tune it out with one long Satnam to close. Sat Nam. Satnam. Satnam, 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 you beautiful humans, beautiful souls. I would love to hear, we have 1 minute left technically to be perfectly on time, but I would love to hear how that exercise was for you, how it felt, any awareness, any insight that came through, if it was triggering in a good way, if it was triggering in an uncomfortable way. How did it feel for you? Sat Nam means truth is my identity. So Sat means truth and Nam means name or identity. So it's acknowledging the presence that you are, the consciousness, the awareness that you are beyond thought, beyond mind. You're welcome. Felt my back cry and my arms wanted to open out. My cat wouldn't stop trying to get my attention. Lovely. Wasn't clear on the noises if I was supposed to breathe with them. The breath pattern was deep inhale, hold, exhale completely, hold. It helps calm the mind. Very relaxing. Thank you. I felt connection. Oh, wonderful. Beautiful, tingly, calming, relaxing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is a simple practice that you can carry with you, especially throughout this time. Oh, you're so welcome. October, it's ramping up. We're just in the pre-eclipse feels. So if you're feeling like, what is going on, or feeling this like anxiety or this like anxiousness or this impending, something's going to happen feeling, this is a really beautiful practice to come back to use between now and the end of the month as we go through these 2 eclipses that are really going to bring about quite massive shifts. You're so welcome. After a few minutes, I could take noticeably deeper breaths. Amazing. Yeah. The longer you practice it, the more you'll be able to hold the breath out. And that really is the one that activates the nervous system to be able to have more capacity to hold calm in uncomfortable situations. That was amazing. Felt it in my throat and warmth in my back. Amazing. Yay. Thank you. Feel better. Yay. Is there a meaning to one breath or another? I mean, when we inhale, I don't know how much time we have left. You can tell me anytime we need to hop off, but
yeah, we can just make sure we answer the questions for sure.
Yeah, I will just absolutely answer this one. When you think of inhale and exhale, when you inhale, it's the taking in of spirit. It actually when we think about it in like a different language. I was talking about this on my Instagram the other day, because inspire in French is to inhale, and it's to take in or inspire, to take in spirit, to take in life force. So that inhale is like, how much life can I let in? How much life can I hold? And the expire, or the exhale in French, is expire. And when you write it out, it's the same as expire. And it's how much emptiness can I allow? How much can I let myself let go? So in the inhale and the exhale, it's the cycle of life. We are born, we are taking in life, and then we let it all go and we exhale. And so the more attention we pay to our breath, the more attention and the more awareness we have of our life. And it's whether or not we can handle a lot of life coming to us, and whether or not we can really handle what it feels like to surrender. Most of us are like, no, I am in control. The mind is like, I need to do the be the thing. So when you can practice holding that breath out for longer periods of time, it allows you to experience what it is to surrender to your higher being, to the divinity moving through you. And in that way, you're allowed to be moved with intuition. You're allowed to be moved with insights. You're allowed to download and let more aspects of your spiritual self move into your life. I hope that answers it. My head got hot. I was feeling heat as well. Awesome. Thanks. Love that explanation. Arms got tired, but I felt a slight tingling up my back. Amazing. So anytime you have those discomforts in your body, they give you that awareness of like, what do I do when I feel uncomfortable? Do I just want to quit? Do I want to put my arms out? Do I start getting mad at the girl who's making me hold my arms out here, even though she's not really making me hold my arms out here? I'm the one holding my arms out here. And then all of the stories that go on in your mind. It's a beautiful way, again, to find your power in areas that might be uncomfortable. The mind, the maker of all illusions, is the block. The mind is our greatest, like I always say, your ego is actually your amigo once it's in check. But if it's the one running the show, it's going to run you off a cliff. But when you have it serving the soul, you are extremely powerful. Our minds, our ego help us to manifest. Like, what's the point of being a human if we're not here to create and to be in the experience of individuality and imaginary separation, so that we can find our way back to love and anchor it down here on this material plane. Does it matter what language the mantras are spoken on? All of these mantras are spoken in either Sanskrit or Gurmukhi. They're the most ancient languages available. You can translate them, I guess, but the frequency is held in the mantra as it is. And every word has its own spell. Like, that's why we call it spelling. Every word has its own meaning, has its own activation or frequency to it. So you could say it in a different language. It might have a different, just a slightly different meaning, because words carry different meanings with them. So basically
holding the breath out is where the magic happens, she's wondering, which I thought was a great question.
That is a really good question. I honestly think there's no one better than the other, because magic is being incarnate, is like taking in spirit, allowing like all of that beauty to come into our lives. And the part of letting go, I think that might be where we perceive that there's more magic happening, because it's not as natural for us. So it's a bigger expansion. It's a bigger, it's more of a leap, or it's more of a growing process to be able to handle it. I think we need both. Like, we can't have light without dark. We can't have the inhale without the exhale. And so the degree to which you hold the exhale out and create that sort of vacuum is the degree to which you're able to like accept more in. So they balance each other out. Eventually, you might notice that you can take in more and you can't really hold the exhale, or you can hold the exhale, but you can't really do. The more you can even those two things out, I think that's where the magic is. The mind is the identity structure. Yeah, I'm jumping into nerd dynamic breath at 7 p.m. This is a beautiful pre-practice for me. I didn't expect anything, but love you, and I'm very grateful for this beautiful offering, Leah. Thank you. I love the mantras. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. Makes sense on the language. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. You guys are such a beautiful group. Thank you so much for having me here. Apologies for the little like death experience as I was tuning in, but
thank you for bringing us such a gorgeous experience, especially for, I don't know, but for me here on the West Coast, it's like right in the afternoon, right during that like siesta time. So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really beautiful. So how do people find you?
You can find me through my website, leahbrathwaite.com. I'm most active on Instagram. Everything that I post on Instagram gets thrown over to my Facebook page as well. And that's the same Leah.Brathwaite on Instagram. I also started posting on YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube. And I have an app that's called the Live Free Lifestyle app that is a monthly membership that offers these types of activations. So every month we have a journey that carries us through a theme of the month. There's also some courses in there that allow you to access your multidimensional self and really do powerful practices to access each of those parts of yourself so you can feel all of your 10 bodies, so that you can have an embodied experience of your multidimensional self. So you can find me there as well. I am not on Insight Timer. No, all of my meditations are currently in the app, or there's some on my website that are associated with my book. So I also have a book on Amazon. You can find it there, either searching my name, or you can find it under A New Way of Life, a guide for transformation from living a lie to freeing your soul.
Beautiful.
All places.
All right.
Thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah, phenomenal. And thank you guys so much for coming. It was great to have such a good group together to do this together. So I think it always is power of the group helps everybody go a little bit deeper. So thank you so much. Thank you, Leah. It was fantastic. And we will be back again. It's always Wisdom Soup is always on the second Thursday of the month. We change the time during the day based on speakers and what's going on, but it's always on the second Thursday. So we'll send the announcement out in a couple weeks. All right, you guys, have a great afternoon or evening or middle of the night, wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye.